Hello folks, welcome back to another Hobby Saturday. And every Saturday I go over kind of the painting aspect of the hobby. It's a big part of this hobby for me. I don't just get things because I like them, I like to paint things too. And this is sort of my outlet for that. So Awakened Realms has this really cool thing that they offer called Sundrop. And what it is sort of a wash that they put on their miniatures. And because they have a product like that to upsell you with, they tend to create their miniatures with a lot of big gaps and a lot of big peaks and valleys. So that product looks really great, and especially great when it's got the sun drop effect on it. Kind of a side effect of that is it's really, really awesome, especially if you're a contrast paint painter like myself. And so the first time I sort of encountered like how awesome it is to paint their miniatures was during Nemesis. So Nemesis, the first go around of Nemesis, I was kind of painting the way I always did, and it was okay, but I didn't really like the miniatures all that much, but I really loved the game. The second time Nemesis came around, their miniatures were quite a bit better, actually, than they were before, and I'd started to use contrast paint. I painted my entire box set of Nemesis in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I can't even remember. It was super fast. And mostly because those paints react so well with the contrast paints. They're just like they're made to go together. It's really interesting. That particular set of models, the way they've designed them, and the contrast paints, just a great match. I don't think that's true necessarily with all the stuff that they do, but definitely the way they had sculpted Nemesis in particular, it seemed to work really well, especially with the aliens. I mean, they're naked. They could be mostly one color, a little splash of another color here and there. It's really easy to paint. I've gotten a lot of Awakened Realms products since then. Castles of Burgundy came in first, and then I just got this the other day. This was the first one where I ever purchased Sundrop as a wash. So I kind of had something to sort of compare things to. But I had already decided as I was making those aliens and Nemesis that I wanted to try doing it as more of a tokenized thing. So instead of trying to paint something so it's more literal, like a dude with a sword and stuff like that, he's the Red Army. This was the perfect opportunity for that. So these guys, aside from having a set of 4 priests, they have 6... Oops. They have basically 6 characters that are color-coded that are their armies. So they're just 6, and they're different sculpts in each one, but it's the same guy all the way across. So it's a little bit boring. And a boat. Colored plastics do great for identifying things on the table. They're great for that. They don't look too good, especially in plain plastic. They're a little boring, and I can definitely tell where a wash on one of these would definitely make it better. So what I propose to do is, for this particular box set, I'm going to paint all the monsters. I'm going to paint all the heroes. But what I'm going to do today and moving forward is I'm going to just do a contrast paint DIY Sundrop on all these characters. So the rank and file troops and stuff will get sort of a Sundrop-y kind of effect. And then the rest of the guys I'll paint kind of the way I always do. And that should save me about... probably about 40 or 50 hours of tediously going through these things. Plus these guys are a little unusual too. They're not like your run-of-the-mill Vikings. They got tubes and weird pieces of metal and things like that coming out. So I think that this wash will be a good effect for this. They'll definitely look better than they did before. I'm not going to show you all of these today. I've already removed red, and I've actually got this out so I can start on the others because that went so quick. I can probably paint through this whole tray in the rest of the afternoon. But let me tell you about the Red Army. I say contrast paints in kind of a generic way. That I actually use speed paints for I think most of this. I do use the Army Painter brand stuff. To me, these things are almost universally consistent. There's some differences between the different pigments and stuff like that. And a lot of times I have it kind of a diversity of colors is more what I have in mind when I pick one of these paints over another. Although there are some that just don't work at all. But that's for another video. So the plan for this is just to match the color up the best I can, and then just paint it solidly with that speed paint color. I'm not going to do a different color for the ground or anything like that. I'm just going to do it all one color. Something that I advise you do after you've gone through all of them is to go pick them up one more time and look for little spots. Sometimes little bubbles will form if you're not too careful when you're putting the paint on. And once those bubbles pop, it'll be a little white spot. Or sometimes the paint just resists off a certain area for some reason. It takes another time or two painting over it before it really starts to look the way it's supposed to. So take another minute and go through all your 6 models there and make sure that you've got it all covered. So while I was priming these, I actually ran on a primer. So I painted all the soldiers first. But after I got some of the soldiers painted, I got a chance to compare, at least with one of the priests that I hadn't got to prime yet. I got to compare what it looked like with the contrast paint versus just the plastic on its own. So looking at the stuff I got out of the Castles of Burgundy box, I've noticed that they kind of did it 2 different ways. One is, it looks like it was red or primed red, and then it had a black wash on it. And the other one kind of looks like it was red or painted red, and then had a really nice sort of lighter highlight painted over the top of it, like a frosting almost. I've seen a few unboxing videos for Lords of Ragnarok 2, and I believe this is the effect that they used on their armies, if I remember correctly. I wish I had some to compare them to, but I really don't. So for my highlights, I decided to take, I took the bottom of the spin dial that still has the original plastic color, and I used that to kind of match up some different colors of red that I had. Unfortunately, the one that fit is the one you could only get if you bought a really awful game by Mythic Games. This was from the Reichbusters Army Painter set, and most of their paints are crap, but this actually happened to match almost exactly the correct color, so I mixed a little bit of gray in there with it, and toned it down just a little bit, brightened it up just a little bit, and I used that to dry brush everything on there. So for the boat, I kind of broke with what I did with the other guys and decided that I wanted to paint the ocean separately. I wanted to experiment with kind of like a two-color scenario on these, because I had thought about maybe doing some spot colors of different things, but I couldn't really decide what to do. The only other thing I could think of was maybe do metal, like paint all the metal parts actually metal color. But these things already kind of look like they're from Cybertron, and they have metal stuff just sticking out everywhere, and I was afraid it would just be kind of confusing. But I wanted the boats to have a blue ocean to kind of match the matte a little bit better, and I thought they came out good. I finally got the priest primed, and I'm using a trick that I learned when I painted the DEI miniatures for that DEI game, Divide et Impera. And that's a popsicle stick with a bunch of blue tack on it, attached to another paint holder and stuff. Boy, it made it pretty easy, although you got to make sure you got enough blue tack to hold them down. Otherwise, it gets kind of tricky with those little things. And there you go, folks. They came out really good. I'll give you updates on what I'm up to as I move forward. And I believe next week I should start on the heroes at least, or maybe some of the monsters. I guess it depends on how it goes. At the very least, I know I'll be done with the rank and file troops and like over halfway done painting this project, which actually isn't a lot of miniatures when you compare The Witcher or stuff like that. So if you'd like to see more of my painting projects, you can click right here. If you'd like to see something YouTube thinks you'll like, you can click right here. If you want to continue on this journey with me and see the rest of these things painted, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.